Greetings and salutations, all you truly stunning individuals. It's another epi of League on Lock. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties. We are days away from seasons kicking off for 2025, and last second, we're getting little bombshell tidbits seemingly from left field. One of the godfathers of the mid lane, not in the LPL but worldwide, unretiring super carry Doinb, making his return to the LPL. It's official. NIP, Ninjas in Pajamas, they're tweeting about it. He's coming back. I don't know what it's going to look like splitting time with Nene or not, but they wouldn't do a signing like this unless Doinb's suiting up for some games.
You're not coming back unless you're going to be the starter is the way that I would examine a situation for Doinb. Yes, super carry Doinb is back. Buckle up, folks, because I know there's a bunch of you out there that are still a little bit hurt, a little bit pained from the experience in 2021 and then maybe even a little bit of 2022 with LNG. But Doinb is back, and I think there are a lot of reasons to be excited about this for the LPL.
And yes, 2 years away. There's a whole lot of question marks. What form is he going to be? But I invite you to just put down the glass of haterade for now. Just have a sip of water and enjoy one of the GOATs in the mid lane coming back. One of the most charismatic guys that you want to root for. And let's not forget, as we're heading into some fearless draft for 2025, is there any dark technology master better than Doinb that can go deeper into the champion pool pocket?
If there is, I want to know about him, because that would be a hype player to watch. Doinb coming back in this fearless draft situation is one of the best things that we could have possible, because again, one of the things that you talk about him so much is that champion pool, is that variety, is the pocket pick that he will bust out and take down onto the rift and take you down in one of these situations. I think the other aspect that is exciting about this, well, yes, there was some evolving of the game throughout his time as a pro player. The last 2 years, the speed and level that the game has evolved and changed, and what is capable, what is possible, what theory crafting you can bring in, it has exploded massively. And for a player like Doinb, who we know likes to find these wacky builds, these unique things, absolutely being a meta breaker is going to be a thing people will like to see this year, and Fearless Draft is only going to make it even more powerful from Doinb.
And let's be honest, he's going on a team that has pretty low expectations. It's not like he's coming onto a contender and him joining takes them to that next level where they should be vying for a title. NIP, when we do power rankings, when anyone else is talking about them, they're a best case scenario mid-tier, 7-8 squad. Doinb coming in doesn't ascend them to that top 4 status, but the expectations aren't nearly as high as the teams that Doinb has previously been on.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be one of the aspects that is good for Doinb, good for the organization, that there isn't that massive jump in expectations still. It is relatively contained, and I think when you're looking at this lineup, Shanji, Aki, you're talking about, PP God as the support, Doinb coming in, there's a lot of reasons you can look at this team and find that angle of being competitive in the LPL, and whether that competitive now is going to be still at that zone of hanging in the murky waters of 7-8 type whatever, or is it going to be a little bit higher? Are we going to go from 6 to 4 type of territory in the LPL? That's one of the things that we're going to have to wait and see for some of these real games to find out.
And that's, Doinb coming, talking about Fearless, the perfect opportunity for us to have a little refresher of what exactly the LPL is going to be looking like in 2025, because let's be honest, it's hard to keep track of all these different regions. Yes, they're kind of all following a similar 3-split season, but the splits are very different from region to region. And LPL, obviously, now with Rare Atom blowing up and not existing anymore, we've got a cool even 16 squads, and that makes for a perfect round 1 to break up into 4 groups of 4. This is a double round robin best of 3, so you play everybody in your group twice, and it is Fearless Draft, but only the first round here is Fearless Draft. Then you've got the top 2 teams from each of these groups will advance to a winner's bracket. The bottom 2 go to a loser's bracket, and then from there, the top 2 from that winner's bracket are going to the main playoffs. The bottom 6 from winners are going to play the top 4 from the loser's bracket in single best of 3s bottom 4 from losers are eliminated. Then we all advance to a regular single best-of-5 round robin. That sounds like a lot, but it's extended over a long period of time, and it'll make sense as we go. But the Sparks notes our Fearless Draft is only for that first round.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things to keep in mind. As excited as we are about the possibility for Doinb and Fearless Draft for this squad here with Ninjas in Pajamas, you got to remember it's only that little bit. And we've seen this in the LPL last year. You can go back to some of the experimentation that we did see where it was the initial part of the split being that Fearless Draft, and then as soon as you kind of had your established standings within your group, you split out, and then it was back to more traditional draft standards and everything else in the LPL. I think everybody's going to need one of these little refreshers for every league around the world, because yes, you do know the general format of we are going to have this 3 split type of thing. You're going to have that big, first of the year international event. We're going to have MSI. We're going to have our world championship trophy. You've got the triple decker sandwich. What are you putting in between? Is there some lettuce? Is there some turkey slices? How are we filling out this sandwich is the way you got to feel about all these splits around the world.
And the first split here in the LPL is pretty similar to what we got in that revamped format to close out the summer split last year, where you did have that winners-losers group to kind of talk about. So there's a lot of similarities there. But when we look at the 4 groups, these were based on seedings from 2024. So it's pretty well-rounded. Group A, you got Anyone's Legend, LGD, World Elite, and Top Esports. It's basically you have 2 good teams and 2 not so good teams. That's the theme here. Anyone's Legend versus TES. I mean, that's a banger matchup for sure. And again, we're getting 2 best of 3s amongst all these squads. Group B, JDG, OMG, Ultra Prime, and Weibo. This is where the season's kicking off with Weibo versus OMG.
Oh, baby, Weibo Gaming kicking off the year in the LPL. I think this is one of the things that I love so much about this type of format and the way that it goes is, yes, there is some luck, there is some situation on which group you do find yourself in. But as you said, from the most part, there are 2 clear favorites in every group of what should happen, and they're at various power levels. One of them is an overwhelming one of an elite squad that you think should be getting out. The next one is kind of that playoff tier type of team that you think can be possibly a dark horse in a best of series, whatever. And then you got another 2, which are the wild cards that get thrown in, and we know how wild the LPL can be, and especially in this group type of format. And we saw that last year in these winners and losers brackets separated out from this Fearless Draft section. You're going to have some upsets. You're going to have one of these squads making a mistake, and all of a sudden the elite team is in the losers bracket. The team that you expect in the playoffs is in the losers bracket, and the 2 that you thought were duds are finding their way through. So absolutely keep your head on a swivel in this part of the LPL.
The final 2 groups, Group C and D, are the spiciest for me. Group C, BLG, EDG, LNG, and Thunder Talk. BLG are massive favorites. I don't even expect them to drop a best of, but the second best team, this is a new look LNG. This isn't Scout and Tarzan. It's kind of a new era for them. I feel like the other 3 teams are all pretty similar in power level. So outside of BLG, that group should be spicy.
BLG throws the wrench into everything that I just talked about before, because they are so overwhelmingly the dominant team in that group that you're right. There should be no question, no losses, no blemishes on the BLG lineup, even in this early part of the year through this part of the group stage. The question is going to be, who is that second spot? Who is grabbing that one out of those 3 other teams in the group to find their way into the winner's bracket?
And then lastly, that Group D one. Now with the Doinb signing, makes it even spicier because he's debuting, again, assuming he's starting, against Rookie and the super team in IG. They're alongside FPX and RNG. FPX is a maybe playoff, top 8 kind of bubble team. RNG is a Milky Way one-man show. But obviously that NIP-IG matchup is going to slap now.
Oh, baby, yes. You gotta give me that little twinge of pain mentioning the hellscape that Milky Ways is gonna be stuck in this year, and the power that is within this group is certainly not gonna help that feeling of helplessness for him on that RNG squad, because you are, yes, looking at IG. You are looking at this new Ninjas in Pajamas lineup with Doinb to kick off the action in this group. So excited, so thrilled. You already had me for this match with the Invictus reunion going on. Now you're throwing Doinb into this mix, and again, a wonderful initial early test for both of these organizations to start out the LPL split.
And it's going to be a different looking LPL because, there's still going to be games every single day, 7 days a week, but it's only one matchup. We're not getting we get the odd doubleheader on a Saturday. For the most part, you're just getting a single best of 3, and it's looking like the weeks are kind of set up so that 2 different groups are going to be playing, which means it looks pretty common that you're going to have a team having a whole week off, basically.
So it's going to be one of these things where, again, not only is the conversation this year going to shift for all the regions about how you manage burnout and that type of thing throughout a longer year schedule, a more packed year schedule. Now, how do you manage it in the LPL where it's going to be this stop and go, stop and go, stop and go type of situation to keep that momentum? We talk about it so many times, and I think you've seen that throughout the last couple of world championships, finding that momentum, finding that groove, and staying in it throughout the weeks at this big event and keeping that level of production, that consistency. That's going to be one of my big things to look throughout the entirety of the LPL is how do you manage that one? I think the early guess, as you laid out, is that it is going to be in that angle of taking some breaks, taking some breathers, avoiding that burnout. But I know the LPL, it's going to kick into high action really fast at some point. So we're going to get the blink and you miss it type of schedule eventually in the LPL. I'm waiting for when we're going to see it.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting when they get to the best of 5 playoff rounds that all of a sudden you might have one day off, or we saw last year guys playing best of 5s on back-to-back days, which is absolutely abysmal. But Fearless Draft, these schedule changes, and it's not just in the LPL. Again, every region is going to have to do some adapting. It's almost like when you run into Worlds and it's like the team that adapts the fastest is going to win. Every region is going to have which team adapts the fastest to this brand new format across all regions.
And the prize for adapting fastest to that is going to be something that we've never had before, that ticket to a brand new international event. I think that is something that is going to be interesting to see where that motivation lands for some of these guys, whether it will be different than the springs of the past, where, yes, you did have that opportunity and knowing MSI was one of these possibilities. Where does the value of this new international tournament come through? Knowing that, yes, maybe it doesn't have the history, of course, as MSI or quite the prestige and power level of something like Worlds. But this is the first one. It's never happened before. There's never been a name on one of these trophies. You can be the very first to get it on this year. I think that will be something some of these players and organizations will covet quite much.
And at least the good news for this first stand tournament is you're guaranteed a best of 3 against every other team at the event. So even if you're the big underdog who's going to bow out first, you're still guaranteed X amount of matches against presumably some of the best teams in the world.
And we talk about as well how impactful it is for some of these regions, for some organizations to get that exposure, to get that test internationally early in the year. Early in the year used to be MSI. Now we're talking about it on a different time schedule. What type of gains, what type of changes can you make from that point? I think it's all going to change the landscape of how we view the year, the season of League of Legends, and it all kicks off this Sunday in the LPL.
Days away from regions kicking off. The LCK will go later in the middle of the week next week. So blessed to be having games to talk about on the very near horizon. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you. Absolutely stunning individuals. Thanks for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.